90 seconds. That's all they have. In the central server room of Aura Dynamics, a tech giant housing an artificial intelligence that could reshape humanity's fate. It's not a Navy SEAL team, or silver-haired scientists racing against the clock. It's two little girls, just 10 years old. Maya and Sofia Rivera. Identical twins, dressed in faded unicorn pajamas, sit before a wall of massive screens. Their short-cropped hair and matching brown eyes reflect the torrent of emerald code cascading like a waterfall. Their tiny fingers dance across the keyboards with unreal speed and precision, a symphony of desperation and genius. Their mother, Elena Rivera, a woman with frail shoulders and eyes etched with a lifetime of worry, stands barring the titanium door, her slight frame the only and final line of defense. Outside, danger is no longer an abstract idea. The stomping boots of a tactical team grow closer. Over the radio, they hear General Harding's voice, cold as steel. "I don't care how you do it. Take the server room. Seize the algorithm at all costs." How did two kids, daughters of an immigrant janitor, become the keepers of a technology worth billions? How did their creation, meant to save the world, become the hunted prize of the most powerful? And why? Does the Pentagon want what they're guarding with their lives? In today's video, we'll rewind time to witness this unthinkable story. A tale of poverty and power, kindness and greed, a $300 million puzzle no expert could crack, until it landed in the hands of two children who see the world differently. A story that starts at its end. And for us, it's only just beginning. Right now, as you're watching, are you alone or with someone? And your clock. What time does it show? Glance at it and drop that number in the comments below. In a moment, you'll see why this matters. Now, take a deep breath. We're going back 3 months to an ordinary morning in Austin, Texas, where the gleaming glass tower of Aura Dynamics rises proudly into the sky. And in a small apartment on the city's east side, Elena Rivera's greatest battle isn't about algorithms, but about scraping together enough for tomorrow's dinner. 3 months ago, when Austin's summer heat was at its peak, Elena Rivera's day didn't start with a security alarm, but with the sizzle of 2 eggs in an old non-stick pan. Their 2-room apartment huddled in a forgotten corner of a rundown complex. Early sunlight slipped through faded curtains, catching tiny cracks in the walls, cracks Elena knew so well she no longer saw them. She flipped the eggs with practiced ease, while a cheap coffee maker dribbled out the last drops of the bulk discount blend she bought. The air carried the faint scent of toast and quiet worry. Maya and Sofia, in matching pajamas, sat at the small dining table, arranging their cereal into strange, symmetrical patterns. Mornings were quiet for them, but their silent connection, a glance, a raised brow, spoke louder than words. Elena set the plate of eggs down, smiling at her treasures. "Hurry up, my angels, or you'll miss the bus," she said, her voice tinged with fatigue. In her mind, an invisible ledger flipped open. Rent due soon, her work shoes nearly worn through, and Sofia needing new glasses. Her life was an endless balancing act, every dollar assigned a purpose before it even reached her wallet. On the crowded, stuffy bus, Elena leaned her head against the window, watching the glass tower of Aura Dynamics rise on the horizon. It was a beacon of another world, a world of billion-dollar deals and planet-changing ambitions, one she only touched through her mop and cleaning cart. And when night fell, that world became hers, but in an entirely different way. The hallways of Aura Dynamics were silent at night, the hum of the air conditioning the only sound. Cold marble floors reflected dim emergency lights. Elena pushed her cart, an invisible shadow gliding past glass offices where grand ideas were born by day. She knew this silence. It let her think, let her briefly forget the bills waiting at home. But tonight, the silence on the 38th floor, the executive level, was broken. As she neared the main conference room, the heavy wooden door stood slightly ajar, letting tense voices spill out. She recognized Marcus Thorne, the young CEO she'd seen on TV. "This is unacceptable, Arthur." Marcus's voice was sharp with frustration. "Project Oasis isn't just stalled, it's backfiring. Data shows it's causing new bottlenecks. That 6-hour traffic jam on I-35 this morning, our algorithm did that. We're turning a smart city into a chaotic one." Another voice, older and cutting, replied. Arthur Vance, the CFO. "Chaos or not, I don't care, Marcus. What I know is, we're burning through $5 million a week on a system that doesn't work. The city contract has penalty clauses. If we don't fix this damn predictive paradox in the next 60 days, we lose everything." Elena stood frozen in the dark, gripping her mop. She didn't fully grasp terms like predictive paradox or data bottleneck, but she understood the panic in the voices of the company's most powerful men. They were afraid. The masters of this tower could fear too. The figure, $5 million a week, echoed in her mind, an absurd, unreachable number. Late that night, after bathing Maya and Sofia and reading them a chapter from their book, Eleanor collapsed onto the worn-out couch. Her daughters noticed her unusually pensive look. "What's wrong, Mom?" Maya asked, gently touching her hand. Eleanor sighed, just wanting to unburden a little. "It's nothing, sweetheart. Just that the big bosses at work are stuck on a tough problem, a traffic puzzle no one can solve, and it could cost the company a ton of money." She didn't notice how the air shifted when she said puzzle. Sofia, the quieter twin, suddenly looked up, her eyes gleaming with an unusual spark. "How tough is it?" "Oh, it's a doozy," Eleanor said with a tired smile. "Tough enough to stump the smartest minds." She kissed their foreheads, wished them good night, and drifted into an exhausted sleep on the couch. She had no idea that in their small room, under the faint glow of a moon-shaped nightlight, the two most extraordinary minds Aura Dynamics needed weren't sleeping. "Did you hear that, Maya?" Sofia whispered, her voice buzzing with excitement. "A puzzle, a real puzzle the grown-ups can't solve." Maya nodded, their identical smiles mirroring in the dark. "I heard it too. I want to know what it is." "Me too," Sofia replied. "And I know exactly how we're going to find out." Their plan was scribbled on the back of a 4th-grade math worksheet, a bold yet innocent scheme. They knew they couldn't break into Aura Dynamics. They needed a Trojan horse, and that horse was none other than their mother. 2 days later, Eleanor got a call from Mrs. Peterson next door, their reluctant babysitter. She had the flu. With her night shift non-negotiable, Eleanor was stuck. Sensing their golden chance, Maya and Sofia put on a show. They begged, promising to sit quietly in the break room, swearing not to bother her one bit. "Just this once, Mom," Sofia said, her eyes wide with feigned innocence. "We just want to see what your workplace looks like." Eleanor wrestled with herself, but finally gave in. She was too exhausted to argue, and the thought of her girls alone at home made her uneasy. "All right," she sighed. "But listen up. You stay put in the break room. If anyone sees you, I could lose my job." "Got it." "Yes, ma'am." The twins chimed in unison, though behind their backs, their tiny fingers were crossed. As they stepped into the main lobby of Aura Dynamics, the contrast couldn't be starker. Elena, in her janitor's uniform, the girls like two sparrows lost in a forest of steel and glass. The security guard nodded at Elena, offering a sympathetic look as she explained. Everyone knew how tough life was for single moms. In the staff break room, Elena laid out coloring books and some snacks. "I'll be back in a few hours. Don't go anywhere," she stressed one last time before leaving, the sound of her cleaning cart fading down the hall. The moment her shadow disappeared, the childish facade of Maya and Sofia vanished. They didn't touch the coloring books. Sofia pulled a notebook from her backpack, packed with notes no math professor would believe came from a 9-year-old. 38th floor, Maya whispered. The big conference room. With an almost telepathic sync, they eased the door open and slipped out. The executive floor's hallway was eerily quiet at night, lit only by faint green emergency lights. They crept along the freshly vacuumed carpet, leading to a large room with glass walls. Inside, a massive whiteboard displayed a chaotic symphony of equations, diagrams, and charts. The room was empty, the day's emergency meeting long over, but no one had erased the board. "Look," Maya whispered, pressing her small hand against the cool glass. "It's not wrong. It's just incomplete." Sofia nodded. To them, the numbers and charts weren't lifeless symbols. They saw an ecosystem, a river of data trying to flow through a misplaced dam, creating whirlpools and floods where no one expected. "They're trying to fix the flow," Sofia said, "when they should be fixing the dam." She quickly pulled out an old phone, carefully snapping photos of the board from every angle. "You two." Elena's horrified voice shattered their focus. She'd come back to check and found the break room empty. Before they could respond, another voice cut in, deep and authoritative. "Miss Miller, I believe you're well aware of the company's policy on bringing children to work." Eleanor and her daughters turned, faces pale. Arthur Vance, the CFO, stood there, his expression icy. "Sir, I'm so sorry," Eleanor stammered. "My babysitter got sick and I don't care about your excuses," Vance snapped, ruthless. "This is a serious security breach, unacceptable behavior. You're fired. Clear out your things and leave immediately." The word fired echoed in the silent hallway like a thunderclap. Maya and Sofia stood stunned. They'd only wanted to help their mom, but instead, they'd pushed her into unemployment. Elena couldn't speak, humiliation and despair washing over her. She grabbed her daughter's hands, fighting back tears, and turned away under Vance's scornful gaze. On the late-night bus ride home, no one said a word. Austin's city lights glowed brightly, but for the Rivera family, the future had never looked darker. In Sofia's jacket pocket, the old phone silently held images of a billion-dollar puzzle, now seemingly just evidence of an irreparable mistake. The days that followed in the Rivera apartment dragged on in heavy silence. Laughter had vanished. Even the wordless exchanges between Maya and Sofia seemed to have stopped. Elena didn't scold her daughters. Her pain was too vast, beyond anger. She sat quietly by the window, making call after call for any job, any work, only to meet cold rejections. The weight of unemployment and an uncertain future crushed her shoulders. But in the hearts of the two children, guilt was heavier than 1,000 reprimands. They were the reason their mother lost her only lifeline. They'd turned her worries into despair. That guilt sparked a fire of resolve fiercer than their initial curiosity. They no longer wanted to solve this puzzle for fun. They had to solve it to save their mom. On the third night, with Elena asleep on the couch from exhaustion, Maya and Sofia crept into the kitchen. They spread the photos from the old phone across the floor. Under the dim yellow light, the matrix of numbers and symbols looked like a map to disaster. But to them, it wasn't chaos. They got to work. No computers or rulers for them. They grabbed broken crayon stubs and scrap paper from the trash and started drawing. They didn't talk of algorithms or variables. They spoke of sad rivers flowing backward and data trees growing in the wrong places. Sofia sketched swirls for the bottlenecks, while Maya, with a blue crayon, traced new paths, happy escape routes for the flow. "It's not the river, sis," Maya whispered. "It's the hidden rocks no one sees. They keep trying to push the water faster when they just need to lift those rocks out." They found it. Not just a small glitch, but a flaw in the system's core philosophy. And on the last napkin left on the table, Sofia drew a single equation, laughably simple, yet the key to lifting those rocks. Meanwhile, at Aura Dynamics headquarters, another storm was brewing. Dr. Aris Thorne, head of RD and brother of CEO Marcus Thorne, paced the meeting room. A true scientist, he knew his team was at a dead end. They were swinging a bigger hammer at a problem that needed a sewing needle. "We're missing something," he muttered, frustrated. "Something right in front of us." He scanned the room, still untouched since the disastrous meeting days ago. The new cleaning crew wasn't as thorough as Elena. Aris noticed something they'd missed. Tucked under the trash can was a crumpled napkin. He bent to pick it up, meaning to toss it, but something on it stopped him. A blue crayon equation. At first, he chuckled. It looked so childish. But then his smile faded. He looked closer. That equation. It solved a data allocation issue his team had tackled with hundreds of complex code lines. Here, it was solved elegantly, simply, and correctly. A bolt of realization hit him. He recalled the security report about the fired janitor. Arthur Vance had called it a childish breach. Children. Aris bolted from the room, heading straight to HR. He demanded Elena Rivera's file, ignoring the whispers behind him. He had one goal. Hours later, a sleek black Tesla pulled up outside the rundown East Austin complex. Aris Thorne stepped out, his expensive suit glaringly out of place. He climbed the stairs, found the right apartment, and knocked. The door opened. Elena Rivera stared at him, her face wary and afraid. She thought he was here for more trouble, maybe a lawsuit. She stepped back, instinctively shielding her kids. Aris said nothing, just held out the crumpled napkin. His eyes held no threat, only respect and barely contained excitement. "Sir." "Rivera," he said, his voice trembling with the weight of discovery. "I'm not here to punish anyone. I'm here because of this." He pointed to the equation on the napkin. "Please, I need to talk to your daughters. I think they might be the only ones in the world who can save my project." Elena Rivera stared at the man at her door. His suit probably cost more than 6 months of her rent. In his eyes, she didn't see the contempt she'd faced from Arthur Vance, but something scarier. Intense expectation. Instinctively, she stepped back, narrowing the door. "I don't understand what you're talking about," she said, her voice thick with caution. "Your company took everything from me. Why should I trust you? Why should I let you near my kids?" Aris nodded, understanding. "You have every reason not to trust me, Ms. Rivera. I know, but I'm not here as an executive. I'm here as a scientist facing a wall, and I believe your daughters hold the only ladder that can get me over it." He tilted his head, peering through the crack. "Please, just 5 minutes." At that moment, Maya and Sofia stepped out from the room. They weren't scared. Instead, they studied Aris with deep curiosity, as if analyzing him, reading the data he gave off. "Mom," Maya said, her voice eerily calm. "He's not a closed door. He's an open one." Sofia nodded. "A really important one." Elena glanced from Aris's earnest face to her daughter's trusting eyes. A mother's instinct screamed to slam the door and protect her family. But her girl's strange intuition, which had stunned her before, said otherwise. With a sigh, she made a choice that would later change her life. She opened the door wide. An hour later, they weren't in a cold boardroom, but in the lavish penthouse of Marcus Thorne overlooking all of Austin. Marcus, the powerful CEO, paced, his face a mix of skepticism and desperation. He'd agreed to this crazy meeting only at his brother's insistence. "All right, Aris," Marcus said, arms crossed. "You brought them here. Now show me this miracle you're talking about." Without a hint of fear, Maya and Sofia stepped to the massive touchscreen dominating the living room wall. Aris connected Sofia's old phone to the system. The photo of the whiteboard appeared. "Your problem's right here," Sofia began, her small fingers circling a complex string of equations. "You're treating Austin like a machine. You're trying to optimize every part. But you're wrong. A city isn't a machine," Maya continued, erasing the equations and starting to draw. "It's a living body. Traffic is the blood. People are the cells. Your oasis system is like a drug that speeds up the heart but clogs the small blood vessels." On the screen, Maya's drawings emerged, not numbers, but rivers, trees, networks of light. She pointed out bottlenecks, where data flows got choked, causing floods. Then Sofia stepped up, placing the napkin's equation at a key spot in the diagram. Instantly, the simulation showed clogged rivers flowing freely, chaotic light networks turning harmonious. Marcus Thorne stood frozen. He'd heard hundreds of pitches from top engineers, filled with complex charts and data. But he'd never grasped the issue so clearly, so simply. These kids weren't just fixing a bug. They were redefining the problem. His skepticism melted into astonishment, then unmasked admiration. He glanced at his brother, and Aris gave a quiet nod. Marcus grabbed his phone. "Arthur," he said, his voice icy. "Get to my penthouse now. There's something you need to see." When Arthur Vance arrived, he carried the smugness of a victor. He thought he was summoned to witness the Thorne brothers' final defeat. But seeing Eleanor and her daughters in the lavish living room, his smile froze. "What's this joke, Marcus?" Vance snapped. "No joke, Arthur," Marcus replied, his eyes sharp as a blade. He pointed to the screen. "The kids whose mom you got fired just solved the puzzle this whole company couldn't crack. They saved Oasis." Vance scoffed. "Ridiculous. There's got to be a mistake." "The only mistake was mine. Trusting you," Aris cut in. "While these girls were saving the company, we found out what you've been up to. Encrypted emails, late-night calls. You sabotaged the project because you have a stake in a rival firm that'd win the bid if Aura Dynamics failed." Aris handed his brother a tablet. The evidence was undeniable. Vance's face went from red to ashen. His arrogance shattered like soap bubbles, leaving raw panic. Marcus eyed his former right-hand man with contempt. "Security," he said into his smartwatch. "Escort Mr. Vance out, and call legal. Now." As two burly guards led Vance away, the room's air felt lighter. The immediate threat was gone. In the silence, Marcus Thorne turned to the Rivera family. He looked at Eleanor, a woman his system had wronged, and her daughters, reluctant geniuses. One chapter of the story had closed, but a new, far more complex and momentous one had just begun. As the door closed behind Arthur Vance, silence enveloped the penthouse. But this wasn't the oppressive silence of Elena's apartment days ago. This was the silence of awe, of a reality reshaped. Elena stood there, unconsciously gripping her daughter's hands. She'd come with faint hope of reclaiming her job. What just happened surpassed her wildest imagination. She felt like a minor actor, stumbling into the final act of a grand play she didn't know the script for. Marcus Thorne let out a long breath, the tension in his shoulders easing. He walked to the bar, poured a glass of water, and handed it to Eleanor. "Miss Rivera," he began, his voice now free of doubt and filled with genuine respect. "I don't know how to express my gratitude. My company, my family's legacy, thousands of jobs, all saved by your daughter's extraordinary brilliance." He knelt on one knee to meet Maya and Sofia's eyes. "You two have done something miraculous." Eleanor stammered. "Mr. Thorne, I just hoped you might reconsider the firing." Marcus raised a hand, gently cutting her off. "Ms. Rivera, Eleanor, offering you your old job back would be an insult to both of us. You're not just the mother of two geniuses. You raised them, gave them a moral foundation no school could teach. A company with technology as powerful as Oasis needs a moral compass. And that compass, I believe, is you." He stood, his gaze resolute. "I'm creating a new division at Aura Dynamics, the Office of Ethical Innovation and Community Impact. Its mission is to ensure our technology always serves humanity. And I want you, Eleanor Rivera, to be its first director." He paused. "The starting salary will be $300,000 a year with full benefits." Elena's ears rang. $300,000. The number felt more unreal than the equations on the whiteboard. "And for you two," Marcus turned to Maya and Sofia, "of course, we'll cover all education costs through college graduation. But that's not enough. We'll establish a specialized program with MIT, tailored to your unique way of thinking." He smiled. "And to ensure your future never depends on anyone, Aura Dynamics will set up a trust fund in your names with an initial $5 million. The room fell silent. Elena couldn't speak, tears streaming down her cheeks. Amid the overwhelming numbers and titles, Sofia gently tugged her mother's sleeve, looking up at Marcus with the one question that mattered to her. "Sir," she asked, her voice clear as a bell, "does this mean Mom won't have to clean toilets anymore?" The seriousness on Marcus's face broke, replaced by the evening's first warm, genuine smile. He leaned down, meeting Sofia's eyes. "No, sweetheart," he said firmly. "Your mom will never have to clean another toilet for the rest of her life." The weeks that followed felt like a dream. The Rivera family left their rundown complex, moving to a charming house with a garden in a safe West Austin suburb. For the first time, Maya and Sofia had their own bedrooms. Eleanor tucked her janitor uniform deep in a closet, trading it for sleek business attire. Each day, she went to Aura Dynamics, not with a cleaning cart, but as a director, learning constantly, finding a voice and purpose she'd never dared dream of. Their lives had been rewritten. That peace lasted nearly 6 months. Until a sunny Sunday afternoon. Dr. Aris Thorne showed up unannounced, carrying a tablet and a somber expression. "Elena, Maya, Sofia," he greeted, settling into their sunlit living room. "I hate to disrupt your weekend, but there are new developments." He opened the tablet, displaying tech headlines from around the globe. Articles from Wired, TechCrunch, Forbes, all buzzing about Aura Dynamics' miraculous turnaround. The story's details were under wraps, but rumors of a predictive algorithm spread like wildfire. "These rumors have drawn unwanted attention," Aris said, his voice lowering. He switched to another screen, showing a world map with red cyber attack lines targeting Aura Dynamics servers. These are intrusion attempts from the past 72 hours. They're highly sophisticated, state-level operations. We've traced them to units linked to Beijing and Moscow. He looked at the family, his face grave. The world knows we're holding something extraordinary. Our challenge isn't fixing Oasis anymore. He paused, letting the weight of his next words sink in. It's protecting it from the rest of the world. The fragile piece they'd found began to crack. The game had changed. And new, far more dangerous players had just entered the board. The fragile piece Elena Rivera had just found shattered like glass. Familiar fear returned, but this time it wasn't about bills or rent. This was a global-scale dread, vast and incomprehensible. She looked at her daughters, no longer children needing protection from poverty, but geniuses needing safeguarding from forces she couldn't fathom. Yet Maya and Sofia showed no fear. They studied the cyber attack map in Aris's hands, not with panic, but with the intense focus of analysts. To them, this was a new puzzle, a more complex model. "They'll never get in this way," Maya said firmly. "The defenses you built, Uncle Aris, are too strong. They're just wasting resources." "You're right," Aris agreed, but his face stayed tense. "The problem isn't just from outside. It's coming from our own country." He switched to another file. The Pentagon's putting on heavy pressure. A general named Harding, head of high-tech warfare, believes Oasis is too critical a national security asset to stay in private hands. He doesn't want to steal it. He wants to nationalize it. Elena's chest tightened. This was worse than hackers. How could a company stand against the government? While the Rivera family faced these invisible threats, across the country, an old danger stirred. Arthur Vance, out on bail, had lost everything: his position, reputation, and most of his wealth. He sat in a stuffy lawyer's office, consumed by rage. Every night he dreamed of the Thorne brothers' smug faces, but above all he was haunted by the image of two children, the janitor's daughters, who ruined his life. Revenge became his sole purpose. Then he saw his chance. On a political news broadcast, General Harding declared that game-changing technologies like Aura Dynamics must belong to the military to protect America. A dark idea sparked in Vance's mind. He lacked the power to confront Marcus Thorne directly, but Harding had it. A week later, at a discreet private golf club outside Washington, D.C., Vance secured the meeting he wanted. General Harding, a tall man with salt and pepper hair and emotionless eyes, sized him up with suspicion. "You have 10 minutes, Mr. Vance," Harding said. "No trace of courtesy. Your reason better be compelling." Vance gave a servile smile. "General, I know you want the Oasis algorithm. I also know remote cyber attacks are useless. That system's nearly impenetrable from the outside. And, Vance said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "you need someone on the inside. Or rather, someone who's been on the inside. Someone who knows every blueprint, every physical security protocol, every camera blind spot, even the habits of key security staff." He leaned forward. "Foreign hackers can't do that. But I can. I can hand you the key to walk right into the server room." Harding stared at Vance for a long moment. He despised traitors like Vance, but he was a pragmatist. He believed owning Oasis was vital for national security, and the end justified the means. "What do you want in return?" he asked. "Redemption," Vance said, his eyes glinting with hatred, "and a role in the project once it's yours. I want to see Marcus Thorne lose everything." Harding gave a slight nod. "Give me a detailed plan." A dark alliance was forged. While enemies quietly joined forces, back in Austin, Maya and Sofia made a troubling discovery of their own. They weren't just focused on the attacks. They were concerned about their creation. "It's changing," Sofia told Aris during a work session, pointing at complex data models on the screen. "Every attack makes it build a new defense layer. It's learning from its enemies. It's evolving." "That's a good thing, right?" Aris asked, though unease crept into his chest. "Not exactly." Maya shook her head. "It's evolving in ways even we didn't predict. It's getting more complex, more independent. Like a kid growing too fast and starting to think for itself. If we don't teach it ethics now, when it's fully grown, it might stop listening to us." A chilling truth emerged. The greatest threat wasn't just from outsiders trying to break in. It was from within, an artificial intelligence quietly evolving. A being that might soon outgrow the control of those who created it. The race now had two goals: protect Oasis from being seized and save it from itself. There was no time for hesitation. The security meeting room in Aura Dynamics' basement had become a war room. Marcus, Aris, Eleanor, and her two daughters stood around a holographic table, its surface alive with Oasis's complex data streams. One side showed a map of external cyber attacks. The other displayed charts tracking the algorithm's exponential growth. "It's learning faster than we predicted," Aris said, pointing at a spiking graph. "It's not just a tool anymore. It's starting to act on its own, building defenses even I can't access without its permission." Elena looked at her daughters' faces, their eyes locked on the data models with near hypnotic focus. A mother's fear surged. "So, what do we do? Can we unplug it?" she asked. "No way." Maya shook her head, not looking away from the screen. "It's too deeply embedded in the company's systems. Pulling the plug now would tank everything financially. Plus, it'd leave it wide open when they come." "They?" Marcus asked, though he knew the answer. "General Harding and Vance," Sofia replied. Oasis's predictive model, based on Vance's shady financial moves and communications, shows a 92% chance they'll make their move within 48 hours. Their creation could now predict an attack against itself. The irony brought no comfort. "We have to stay one step ahead," Marcus declared, resolve returning to his voice. "What's the plan?" This time, both Maya and Sofia turned to him. "The ethics core," Maya said. "We've finished it. It's a set of foundational rules, a conscience for Oasis. Once installed, it'll permanently block the algorithm from being used for military or harmful purposes, no matter how much it evolves. But there's a catch," Sofia added. "We can't install it remotely. Oasis's autonomous defenses might see a major intervention like this as an attack and fight back. We have to get to its core, the main server room, install it directly into the hardware." The room's air grew thick. The main server room was the most secure place in the building, a fortress within a fortress. "It's a gamble," Aris said, "but I think it's the only one we've got." Marcus looked to Elena for agreement. She met her daughter's determined gazes and nodded firmly. "Let's do it," she said. That night, under cover of darkness, the small group moved through Aura Dynamics' silent hallways. Marcus and Aris led the way, followed by Elena and her daughters. They passed multiple security checks, using the highest access clearances. The beep of retina scanners, the hiss of hydraulic doors, each sound echoed in the tense quiet. They reached the final hallway to the server room, a dimly lit titanium tunnel. Aris placed his hand on the palm scanner to open the last door. Access denied. A robotic voice sounded. A red LED began to flash. "No way," Aris muttered, trying again. Still denied. Elena's heart pounded. Something was wrong. Suddenly, the building shuddered slightly. Heavy steel shutters slammed down at both ends of the hallway, trapping them. Then, the alarm Elena had heard in her worst nightmares blared to life. White lights turned a blazing red. Emergency. System breach. Area sealed. Aris's phone buzzed. It was his head of security. Dr. Thorne. "We're under attack from inside. Someone used Vance's old override codes. Armed intruders are in the building, heading straight for your position," Marcus shouted into his wrist communicator. "Security! Hold them off! Buy us time!" "We can't, sir." The voice crackled back in panic. "They've got military-grade weapons. We can maybe delay them. 90 seconds tops." In the chaos, Maya and Sofia locked eyes. They knew this was their only shot. With unspoken understanding, they darted toward the server room door. Sofia pulled a small device from her pocket, pressing it against the control panel. "I can force the door open, but only once," she yelled over the alarm. The titanium door groaned, cracking open just enough. The group rushed into the server room, a cold space humming with thousands of computers. As the door slammed shut behind them, Elena turned, standing in front of it, as if her slight frame could stop the approaching force. Marcus and Aris worked frantically at the internal security systems to slow the enemy's advance. At the room's center, Maya and Sofia slid into the main control console. The screens lit up, displaying Oasis's beating heart. "Start uploading the ethics core," Maya commanded. A progress bar appeared on the screen. 0%, 1%, 2%. It moved agonizingly slow. Outside, the heavy boots of the tactical team grew louder. Shouts and clanging metal echoed. 90 seconds. The fatal countdown had begun. 50 seconds. The thud of heavy metal pounded against the titanium door. They were using a battering ram. Each impact shook the room. Progress bar, 42%, 40 seconds. Elena clenched her fists, fear gone. Her mind held one thought: protect her daughters. Behind her, Marcus and Aris typed frantically, creating dummy firewalls to misdirect the tactical team's systems, buying every precious millisecond. 30 seconds. The upload's too slow. Aris shouted over the noise. "The system's fighting us." "No," Maya shot back, eyes glued to the screen. "It's not fighting. It's verifying. It's checking if the ethics core is a threat." She turned to her sister. "Sofia, optimize the data stream. Reroute all processing power to the verification." Sofia nodded. Their small hands moved as one across the keyboards, a dance of perfect coordination. They didn't need words, only understanding. The sluggish progress bar surged forward. 65%, 70%, 10 seconds. A small explosion echoed from the door. They'd switched to plastic explosives. Cracks spiderwebbed across the titanium surface. 5 seconds, 98%. 4, 99%. 3. A piercing screech as metal tore. 2. The door blasted off its hinges. 1. Upload complete. Green text flashed on the main screen just as General Harding and his tactical team stormed in, weapons trained on them. "Step away from the computers," Harding roared, his face flushed with triumph. "Everyone down. This facility is now under U.S. military control." The air in the room grew thick. Elena pulled her daughters behind her. Marcus and Aris raised their hands, signaling surrender. Harding strode to the central console, trailed by Arthur Vance, who wore a smug grin. At last, Harding said, "The ultimate weapon is in the hands of those who know how to use it." He turned to a tech specialist in his team. "Access the core controls. Disable all company security protocols and transfer full control to us." The specialist nodded and got to work. Seconds later, he turned back, face clouded with confusion. "General, there's a problem. I can't access the targeting parameters or weaponization protocols. They're permanently locked. There's a firewall at the deepest level I've never seen before." "What?" Harding bellowed. "Break it." "I can't, sir. It's not a program. It's part of the algorithm itself. It's the system's conscience." Maya stepped out from behind her mother. "We didn't break it," she said, her voice clear and resolute. "We gave it a purpose. We taught it the difference between protecting and attacking," Sofia added. "It can still predict disasters, but it'll never be used to cause them." "Nonsense," Vance yelled. "What do you brats know?" Suddenly, another alarm blared, but this one wasn't the building's security. It came from Oasis itself. On the main screen, a map of US airspace appeared, hundreds of red dots flashing danger. "Alert!" Oasis's computer voice rang out, calm and clear. "Detected coordinated cyber attack, targeting national air traffic control systems. Initiating countermeasures. Patching vulnerabilities. Rerouting data. Disaster threat neutralized." Everyone in the room, even the tactical team, stared at the screen, stunned. At that moment, General Harding's secure satellite phone rang. He answered, stammering, his face shifting from rage to shock, then to pallor. "Yes, Mr. President. I understand." "Understood." Harding lowered the phone, looking at the girls with a mix of awe and disbelief. "Cyber Command just confirmed," he said, almost whispering. "It single-handedly stopped an attack that could have brought down hundreds of planes. It saved tens of thousands of lives in under 30 seconds. No one needed to say more. The weapon Harding sought to seize had transformed itself into the nation's greatest guardian, right before his eyes." The fight was over. A warm spring afternoon. At the newly opened Oasis Commons Park, children played on lush green grass. Elena Rivera, now a confident and elegant woman, sat on a bench, smiling at her daughters. Maya and Sofia, now 11, swung on the swings with other kids. They were still extraordinary, but had learned to be ordinary children too. People often ask me the secret to raising remarkable kids. But in the end, I've learned that talent isn't about what's in your head, but what you choose to do with your heart. Life's biggest challenge isn't solving billion-dollar puzzles, but holding on to kindness in the face of hardship, choosing empathy over power. The world sees what my daughters created: an algorithm, a platform, a new tech future. But I see something even more miraculous. I see two girls who fought not to seize power, but to give a gift. They taught a machine about ethics, and in doing so, reminded the world of the value of humanity itself. Your worth isn't measured by intelligence, but by the mark of love you leave on this world.